Welcome to Greedy Bitch, a podcast where we teach you to go from being burnt out, broke, and broken to healthy, wealthy, and happy. Building a grooming business on your terms. Here's your host, River Lee.
Classic ones and zeros, baby. I'm obsessed with you. Give it to me, baby. Give it to me, baby. Every money, everything I need.
Hello, and welcome back to Greedy Bitch, the podcast for groomers who are done apologizing for wanting more. I'm your host, River Lee, founder of The Savvy Groomer, and today's conversation might be a little uncomfortable, but in the best way possible, because we're talking about golden handcuffs. And before you tense up and immediately think, oh, this isn't probably for me, I want you to stay open for just 1 second. Golden handcuffs are sneaky. They don't show up when you're broke and desperate. They don't show up when your books are empty. They show up when your business technically works, your schedule is full, your bills are paid, and everyone on the outside thinks, hey, you're doing great. But on the inside, you're tired, you're probably irritated, you feel stuck, and there's this quiet, low-grade resentment that keeps bubbling up. You're not failing, you're not irresponsible, and you're definitely not lazy. You're just realizing that working and working well are not the same thing, and that is okay. Now, if that realization makes your stomach drop a little, this is going to be an episode for you. Now, some of you guys may not actually have heard the term golden handcuffs. So, what are golden handcuffs? I'm going to define it super plainly. Golden handcuffs are when your income looks okay, your schedule is full, your clients are fine, and you still feel trapped. Now, what's really important for those of you guys that don't know the term golden handcuffs mean that you are trapped in something, but it's so good, juicy, great that you don't actually want to escape it. A similar term would be a gilded cage. So think about somebody who hates their job, but it pays so well, they simply can't get rid of it, right? Or someone who's in a marriage that it's almost everything they want, right? Their kids are happy, they love their life, but something's just not right. So golden handcuffs are when you know you're trapped, but you kind of wish you weren't, but it's just so comfortable, so good. It's so golden. You're not sure you want to escape. When you have golden handcuffs, you tell yourself things like, I can't change anything right now. I need the money. At least it's stable. I'll fix it all later. And here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. Stability without sustainability is just burnout with better branding. Golden handcuffs are not about being rich. They're about being dependent. You become dependent on certain clients you're scared to lose, certain price points that barely work, certain chaos that you've learned how to survive, a version of yourself that's already exhausted by handling it. And the longer you stay there, the harder it feels to imagine anything different because your business doesn't feel optional anymore. It feels like a requirement, an obligation, a responsibility you simply can't set down. And that's the part that feels really heavy, right? It's not the work, it's the lack of choice. Why groomers stay stuck even when they're miserable? Here's the part no one wants to admit. And I say this with a lot of compassion. Sometimes we stay stuck because it's familiar. Not comfortable, but it's familiar. We know how to survive here. We know how to overwork. You know how to push through. And you know how to ignore your body and your needs. And there's a weird safety in that because changing means risk, discomfort, changing boundaries, conversations, letting go of clients, maybe raising prices, possibly admitting the current model isn't actually working. And groomers, we are exceptionally good at endurance. Hard work has always been the solution until it isn't. Golden handcuffs thrive on beliefs like if I just work harder, I'm going to eventually be better. Once I hit this number, then I'll slow down. And I just need to get through the season. And here's the uncomfortable truth: hard work fixes under earning, but it does not actually fix any broken systems. And again, the thing about golden handcuffs is they don't feel urgent. You're probably not drowning. You're probably just slowly suffocating. And that's harder to respond to. So I know personally when I had my grooming salon, and I loved my grooming salon, I was making amazing money supervising it and running it. I had 5 employees, we had a membership model. It was running really, really, really well. And everyone thought it was financial suicide for me to go ahead and sell that business. But for me, it was about the life priorities that I wanted. That business model didn't fit the season of life that I was personally in. I wanted to be the mom who dropped off their son at kindergarten. And I'll tell you what, after missing, and for those of you guys that don't know my story, I went from homeless, living in my car, pregnant with my son, to owning a home within 5 years. And so going from that desperation, working 80 to 100 hours a week, building up that business, building up financial stability, to being able to say, hey, now that I'm okay, now that I have more than enough money, I want to refocus my priorities to my son. And so my business was a perfect example of golden handcuffs where everyone thought I was bananas for selling it, but that business did not align with who I was at that stage in my life. And I think that one of the lies, especially that we tell ourselves as women, is you can't build it again and you can't do it all over again. And in fact, the second time you build it, it's so much easier. So for me, I decided to sell that business, release myself from those golden handcuffs. And if I'm honest, it was the very best decision of my life because if I had kept that business, I would have missed out on all the opportunities that came in the future. So let's talk about money specifically, okay? There's a lot of money traps that create golden handcuffs because golden handcuffs are usually built quietly over time, okay? They're going to be built on underpricing just for now, overbooking to make up the difference, tips filing the gap instead of pricing, no clear budgeting system, and no long-term plan for you, just the business, okay? And on the flip side, it might be a long-term plan for the business, but you're not actually taking into account what you, the individual, want long term. A lot of times it's all about building a situation and then not actually looking at, hey, does this actually align to me, right? Or, you get into a situation where you're making all of this money by overbooking yourself, right? And then you realize, hey, I actually want to go home and eat dinner. Or a situation where I'm like, hey, I actually want to be home with my family. Maybe I don't want to work Saturdays. Maybe you've built up a business where you're making tons of money on Saturdays, but you don't want to be there. And so your golden handcuffs are basically saying, yeah, but are you really going to turn down all that money? And when I talked to a lot of other business consultants, I had this really interesting conversation with one of them recently. Now, they weren't in the pet industry. We were just talking out and about in the wild. And they were so sure you could just throw money at problems, you could just throw money at people, and they will just comply. And I said, one of the things that I love about the pet industry is that, yes, we need money, but no, money is not the priority. And I think some of us as business owners, we come from a place of struggle and then we choose to make money the priority for a short period of time. Or we have a certain goal and we make money the priority, but it's never the long-term solution. We need to balance happiness, money, and of course, growth. And whatever that growth is, whether that's professionally, whether that's business-wise, Or honestly, sometimes it's just us growing outside of the business. So again, some of you guys might be thinking, well, I can't afford to raise prices, right? Instead of working on Saturdays and you want to take Saturdays off, maybe you need to raise prices Monday through Friday to help offset. That way you're not working on those Saturdays. Or you might be saying, I can't afford to slow down. I can't afford to close 2 days a week, right? I need to be open those days. Or I can't even afford to say no, right? Because if I say no, all of these wonderful quote unquote customers of mine who are so used to me being basically a doormat, maybe they're not going to like me anymore and they're not going to keep coming. But maybe you've built this business around yes. And then if you decide to start saying no, maybe you're afraid all of the money that you've been enjoying won't be sustainable. But let me give you some real advice. Okay. What you really can't afford is staying where you are forever. If you are in that scenario, that is not sustainable because the cost of these golden handcuffs are not just financial. It's going to be your body breaking down. If you talk to a groomer who's been grooming 10, 20, 30, even 40 years, some people are genetically lucky. It's like the people that can eat McDonald's and not gain a pound. This is true. But unless if you're going to reinvest in a lot of ergonomics or the right tools, which you definitely should, but let's be honest, the majority of us are going to start seeing the realities of working a physical job. You're going to get carpal tunnel. You're going to start having shoulder problems. You're going to start having back problems. How many groomers that have been grooming 10, 20, 30, 40 years do you know that are in perfect physical health? This job takes a physical toll. Okay. Your nervous system is going to start living in constant alert. If you are saying money is my priority over my well-being, eventually your nervous system is going to get shot. Because if you said that to anyone you love, if you said to your significant other, money is more important than you, that's going to put them on edge. If you tell your employees, money is more important than you. If you looked at your beloved pet, dog, cat, bearded dragon, whatever it is, you would never say money is more important than you. And yet, so often, that's what we're doing, right? Now, your relationships are getting whatever energy is left. And this is something I had to learn the hard way. I was so focused on getting in a scenario where I made sure that money was my priority because we needed it. We needed it to eat and to live and have a safe place to have a roof over our head. But once I knew that was enough money, then I was able to go ahead and make money less of a priority. Money is a priority when you're in survival mode, but when you start to live and be comfortable, you need to invest in the people that you love and working every weekend when your partner has it off, or choosing to work on holidays instead of spending time with your children. Whether it's two-legged or four-legged, right? It's one of those things that it'll eat away at you. Your creativity is going to disappear when you make money the only goal. All of that love and passion for what you're doing is going to erode. And of course, your future options are going to start shrinking because when you have yourself shackled to money and money is the only priority, everything just starts falling away. It sucks the fun out of it. You push people away. You're essentially becoming Ebenezer Scrooge. So when your income depends on your constant output, you haven't actually built the freedom that I'm sure you've desired. You've built this cage, this gilded cage. It's a shiny one, it's a respectable one. And I bet, when you go and you talk to other groomers, they're super impressed with you. When you talk to other people about their jobs, they're really impressed with you. But it doesn't matter if you have money and respect if you don't have happiness. Okay? And a pretty shiny gilded cage is still a cage. Now, let me give you some good news, and please hear this. Breaking golden handcuffs does not mean quitting tomorrow, burning bridges, starting over from scratch, or blowing up your life. Now, for me, I sold my business and I decided to go mobile. Now, that is not what everyone should do at all. Okay. And it's important that when we're breaking the handcuffs and we're not burning everything down, we have a realistic conversation with ourselves about what it is that we actually want and how we're actually going to achieve it. Because freedom doesn't come from chaos, it comes from intention. So breaking these golden handcuffs starts with a choice. These choices can look like choosing to raise prices strategically and not emotionally, right? Raising your Monday through Friday so that you can afford to take Saturday off, maybe. Creating boundaries that protect your energy, not willing to take on extra clients. Let's say, overtime. For me, one of my best boundaries was that the week of Christmas and the week of Thanksgiving, I did baths only. So, and we didn't have a service of bath and tidy, but essentially we do a bath and tidy. So if somebody wants to get in that week, they still need to have their regular groom, and then this would be an additional service. And for me, that was a great boundary because then everybody could be fluffed and buffed for Christmas and Thanksgiving, but my staff weren't trying to desperately finish all of these grooms or once-a-year grooms. And again, I also set the boundary that if you didn't get a regular groom in September and October, you could not get an appointment in November and December. Were these hard boundaries? Of course, especially people that had been clients for years. But we let everyone know, we set the boundary, and then we made them respect it because our sanity was worth more than the money. And if anything, we were able to make the same money without being shackled to things that no longer served us. Also, building buffers instead of white knuckling. Again, by having those fluff and buffs, those bath and tidies, which technically we didn't offer, but for Christmas week we did, we required them to also have their regular groom. So ultimately, we created a buffer in ourselves and we created more abundance financially. Adding a new skill set or income stream. Again, even though we technically didn't offer these bath and tidies and these fluff and buffs, it allowed us to add that service without all year adding that service. And it was a really big win-win for both me, the clients, and my staff. And then getting support instead of doing everything alone, whether that is hiring staff, whether that's outsourcing things. I think there's so many things that we can do, like getting a virtual assistant, like considering streamlining our services or hiring someone to help us do these things, right? I don't think these things are going to happen for you overnight, but even a small intentional decision is going to help loosen the grip. And you don't need to take these handcuffs all at once, but you can unlock them one click at a time. I think often we're sitting there and we're looking at these golden handcuffs or the gilded cage, and we're like, man, I'm really unhappy here. I'm really trapped here. I really want to leave, but if I do, when am I leaving for? And that's a totally valid feeling, but I will tell you this, that if you make the decision to leave, you're going to be so much happier. So, as we wrap up, I want to sit with you guys and ask you a question honestly. If nothing changed this year, would you be okay with it? If you had the same exact schedule, if you had the same income, probably the same stress, maybe the same pace. If the answer is no, it's not about greed, it's about self-respect. New year, new money isn't about hustling harder. It's about building a business that supports your life, not traps you inside of it. So golden handcuffs only work if you keep wearing them, and you are allowed to take them off at any time when you are ready. You do not have to choose money over your life. Now, as a fellow greedy bitch, I'm not telling you not to get your bag, girl. What I am saying is that when you do things, when you earn your money, make sure that sacrifice is aligned with who you are. And it's okay to sit in that gilded cage for a year get some goals, pay off some debts, and then make the decision to free yourself. Okay? So if today's episode hit home, take a breath. You're not behind, you're not broken, and you're not ungrateful for wanting more. You're just noticing that the way that's working right now isn't sustainable, even if the money looks great or even just fine on paper. And that awareness, well, that's the first step to freedom. So January's New Money, New Theme is all about making intentional money decisions, not reacting, not staying stuck because, well, at least it works. And if you're realizing you might be wearing golden handcuffs, here are some few steps you can do. If pricing is what's keeping you trapped, take the Price Increase Masterclass. It's going to walk you through how to raise prices confidently and strategically without panic or guilt. Now you can check that out at savvygroomer.com/PIMC. What I love about the Price Increase Masterclass is it forces you to look at what is good about your business and what you actually want. And too often we just want money. It's like, okay, but why do you want money? And how are we going to maybe rework your schedule to earn that kind of money? Now, if your income feels chaotic and inconsistent, Personal Finance Unleashed helps you build money systems that actually support your life. And if you want to find that out, it's savvygroomer.com/enroll. Now, Personal Finance Unleashed is an older class. We are going to be updating that in the near future. And we're so excited to have that be refreshed in 2026. And if you need clarity around your time and money, or where is it really going? The Pause and Prioritize Planner gives you a simple visibility without overwhelm. And you can find that out at savvygroomer.com/planner. Those are shipped to you. They are a physical planner. I love this planner so much. I designed it with groomers in mind, and it's open-ended enough for you to create it in whatever way that you see fit. So next week, pay attention to how your income feels, not just what the numbers say. Because New Year, New Money isn't about hustling harder. It's about building a business that gives you options. So guys, stay savvy, stay greedy, and stop apologizing for wanting more.
Thanks for listening. Find us on social media at The Savvy Groomer and online at savvygroomer.com. Subscribe to be notified for our new episodes. Until next time, happy grooming.